And they covet fields and take them by violence, and houses and take them away. So they oppress a man and his house, even a man and his heritage.
Basically, every single treaty broken. I mean, was there a single treaty the United States had with the Indians that it didn't break? That's insane.
The U.S. let their people come in and take over what were supposed to be protected areas of land, and that was just constant. That happened everywhere. Their boundaries were changed, and new treaties were made and accepted, and removal happened, and then there were new treaties, and nothing was ever maintained.
He hath put forth his hands against such as be at peace with him. He hath broken his covenant. The words of his mouth were smoother than butter, but war was in his heart. His words were softer than oil, yet were they drawn swords.
There were over 500 different agreements made with the United States, including the ratified treaties, and there were unratified treaties as well as other agreements.
A treaty is fundamentally an agreement between two nations.
Treaties are only made between sovereign governments.
In fact, the U.S. has made more than 300 treaties with American Indian nations.
The United States' existence, when it first won the war against Great Britain, was very precarious, and many countries around the world did not recognize the United States' sovereignty.
So the U.S., as a way to assert that it was a sovereign, it made agreements with Native nations to sort of say to Europe, to Britain, hey, we're sovereign too, we can make these agreements.
It's through treaties that I think we've been able to hold off a lot of forces that would like to see us erased from the continent.
I'm trying to think of one treaty that from the perspective of the indigenous nation has been fully upheld and implemented.
A lot of people disregard our treaties and say they're a thing of the past, they've been broken, let's forget about them. They would like to wipe away the treaty history of the United States, but that's simply not how it works.
Our United States Constitution recognizes that once a treaty is signed and ratified by the Senate, it becomes the, quote, supreme law of the land.
What that means is that a treaty, it's as much alive as the U.S. Constitution is.
Are they living documents? Do they exist, and do they transcend generations? The answer is absolutely yes.
When people question the relevance of treaties and say, I don't think treaties are relevant, my response is, then just give us the land back.
The ancestors who negotiated the treaties, they were doing their best to protect us, to protect our culture, and protect our way of life.
Indigenous people in our treaty relationship, we look at the treaties as being sacred, very sacred, and they're binding. And the government has not fulfilled the treaty obligations, land questions, revenue sharing. We have rights to education and health, and those benefits would accrue from the land and resources that we shared with the government. And I know that the federal government receives royalties, revenues, generated from these resources, from forestry, mining, gas and oil, and fisheries, billions of dollars. I know they have the money, the wherewithal to meet its treaty obligations, but they don't. And that's really a problem. They've put us in reservations in which we've experienced, terrible living conditions, social chaos, and we have family breakdown, and on top of that, people that have gone to residential school being denied of our culture, being void of who we are, our identity, our language, our culture,
Because of unrighteous dealings, injuries, and riches got by deceit, the kingdom is translated from one people to another.
Gad, a troop shall overcome him, but he shall overcome at the last.